39 people have been and 134 wounded in a Russian airstrike on a military facility in Ukraine's west, said the governor of the Lviv region on Sunday. Key points: Ukrainian authorities say 7 civilians were as Russian forces struck fleeing women and children near Kyiv. Mariupol is taking the worst of the ardment, with civilians unable to flee without a ceasefire. Ukrainian President warns Russia is attempting to create more pseudo-republics like Donetsk and Luhansk in captured cities. He said Russia fired 30 rockets at the facility outside the town of Novoyavorivsk in the Yavoriv region northwest of Lviv. Foreign military instructors worked at the site near the Polish border, Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said, but it was not clear if any were present at the time. A ministry representative told the ministry was still trying to establish if any of the instructors were at the center at the time of the attack. Russia has attacked the International Center for Peacekeeping and Security near Lviv. Foreign instructors work here. Information about the victims is being clarified, Mr. Reznikov said in an online post. Loading. The IPSC is the biggest military training facility in the western part of the country and has traditionally been the site of joint drills with NATO. It sits just inside Ukraine, 30 kilometers from the Polish border and 40 kilometers from the outskirts of the western safe haven city of Lviv. Air raid sirens sounded across Ukraine in the early hours of Sunday morning. In the Lviv region, reports of the Russian strikes targeting the IPSC facility emerged at daybreak, with early reports of 9. Loading. An airport in the nearby town of Ivano-Frankivsk was also aired overnight, according to the local mayor. The site has been targeted twice before. Ukrainians displaced by Russia's aggression in the east have been sheltering in Lviv before moving across the border to Poland. This attack will be considered an escalation for a border region that is providing essential passage for people moving out of Ukraine and aid moving in. It appears to be the most western point of the war so far. A shell crater in front of a house damaged by shelling on the outskirts Kyiv. Ukraine says 7 fleeing civilians. Ukraine has accused Russian forces of killing 7 civilians in an attack on women and children in a humanitarian convoy trying to flee fighting near the capital, Kyiv. Ukraine's intelligence service said the 7 people, including 1 child, were as they fled the village of Peremogha, and the occupiers forced the remnants of the column to turn back. The report could not be immediately verified. Russia offered no immediate comment, but Moscow has denied targeting civilians since invading Ukraine on February 24. The Ukrainian intelligence service initially said the civilian convoy left the village in a green corridor that had previously been agreed with Russia. But in a statement released late on Saturday, the service said this was not the case and the convoy had left the village independently. Ardment in Mariupol. Russia aired cities across Ukraine on Sunday, pounding Mariupol in the south, shelling the outskirts of the capital, Kyiv, and thwarting the efforts of people trying to flee the violence. In Mariupol, which has endured some of the worst punishment since Russia invaded, unceasing attacks prevented efforts to bring food, water and medicine into the port city of 430,000 and to evacuate civilians. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 44 seconds 44's video shows Russian tanks marked Z attacking Mariupol. More than 1,500 people have in Mariupol during the siege, according to the mayor's office, and the shelling has even interrupted efforts to bury the in mass graves. Talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire again failed on Saturday, and while the US announced plans to provide another $200 million to Ukraine for weapons, a senior Russian diplomat warned that Moscow could attack foreign shipments of military equipment. Russian soldiers pillaged a humanitarian convoy that was trying to reach Mariupol and blocked another, a Ukrainian official said. Ukraine's military said Russian forces captured Mariupol's eastern outskirts, tightening their siege of the strategic port. Taking Mariupol and other ports on the Azov Sea could allow Russia to establish a land corridor to Crimea, which it seized from Ukraine in 2014. Russian forces advance on the capital. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has warned Russian forces they face a fight to the if they try to occupy Kyiv, as air raid sirens again woke residents on Sunday. If they decide to carp it and simply erase the history of this region and destroy all of us, then they will enter Kyiv. If that's their goal, let them come in, but they will have to live on this land by themselves, he said on Sunday. The president, who has repeatedly appeared on social media from the capital, said some small towns no longer existed in the third week of Russian attacks, the biggest assault on a European country since World War II. The Ukrainian president posts on social media from Kyiv as the Russian assault continues. Russian shelling has trapped thousands of people in besieged cities and sent 2.5 million Ukrainians fleeing to neighboring countries. France said Russian President Vladimir Putin had shown no readiness to make peace. Ukraine will break the war machine. Russia is trying to create new pseudo-republics in Ukraine to break his country apart, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. He called on Ukraine's regions, including Kherson, which was captured by Russian forces, not to repeat the experience of Donetsk and Luhansk. Pro-Russian separatists began fighting Ukrainian forces in those eastern regions in 2014. Pro-Russian troops roll into the separatist-controlled town of Volnovakha in Donetsk. The occupiers on the territory of the Kherson region are trying to repeat the sad experience of the formation of pseudo-republics, he said. They are blackmailing local leaders, putting pressure on deputies, looking for someone to bribe, Mr. Zelensky said. City council members in Kherson, a southern city of 290,000, on Saturday rejected plans for a new pseudo-republic, he said. Russia recognized the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic before invading Ukraine in February. Moscow said it had to protect the separatist regions and is demanding that Ukraine recognize their independence too. Ukraine will stand this test. We need time and strength to break the war machine that has come to our land, Mr. Zelensky said. Debris of a building destroyed in Russian aerialing in a village on the outskirts of Kyiv. ABC Wires.